So the differentiation task is the transition during recovery from fusion to a sustainable community, multi-dimensional structure in which people can take their place and have all their own needs recognised. But it's a fundamental principle of social thought that where there is a need for boundaries and differentiation that is not provided by some constructive means, it will be brought about by competition, hostility, antagonism and conflict. Right? That's a fundamental, I found, looking around, it's a fundamental idea in social theory. Right? How many of you have teenage children? Now, the whole thing about adolescence, as I remember from my own adolescence and the adolescence I had, is about differentiation, increasing autonomy in relation to parental anxieties and concerns. Now, theoretically, they ought to be able to come to you every now and again as they engage in a developmental step and say, "Excuse me, Mum, can I have a word with you for a moment? I've noticed I've become a little bit more mature lately. I think I could take a little bit more responsibility around the house and maybe in return have a slight increase in my allowance and come home a little bit later on Saturday night. What do you reckon?" Why don't they do it? Because they don't understand that they're more mature and autonomous. All they know is you are an absolutely insufferable, overprotective, fussy mother, and I can't stand it, and I don't need it. I can sleep in the park perfectly all by myself. This is sounding more familiar. Right? So what they're actually doing is they're generating a barrier through conflict. They're setting boundary through conflict. And you have a huge screaming match with them, and they go off and slam the door in their room, and you go and weep in your bedroom thinking that the entire relationship is broken down, but you peek in the door and you'll see they're listening to their iPod, don't you? Yeah, that's right. Got cameras in there, hasn't it? Now, can you see? So this is a general principle. Wherever there's a need for boundaries that are not being offered in a constructive way, any self-respecting person will generate them through conflict. Therefore, in the social system, as the fusion moves along, differences of impact begin to show up. The St Andrews woman wants to talk, even though she can't. And when everyone else is talking about their bereavements, she's not able to be sympathetic. And the insured and the uninsured, and you know, the people who are traumatised but went away, traumatised but stayed and defended their houses versus those who went away and untraumatised but lost everything, etc., etc. Or you can imagine, means that what starts to happen is that cleavages, I call them cleavage planes, like in a diamond, there's a certain angle where the molecular bonds are weak. Well, there is a weakness in this very cohesive structure. As soon as we start talking about insurance, well, so you're getting $50,000, even though you never paid insurance. What the hell did I pay all my insurance all these years for? Right? You know, and the people who live in Marysville. All right? So I've got a weekender up there. I get nothing. My neighbour, who's retired on his DHS pension and gone up there and bought a house, which isn't much bigger or better than my weekender, gets 50 grand. No questions asked. I get absolutely nothing. But hang on a second, he's only been there for 1.5 years, hardly knows anyone. But this was my great-grandmother's house, who was a pioneer of the area. I've been coming here all my life. I'm about to retire there next year, and I'm on all the local committees and an absolute icon of the community. And I get nothing. I feel incredibly angry and devalued about that. Don't I count for anything at all? So at the moment I'm in high arousal, I've lost my access to rational, deductive reasoning, which could say, okay, there's a limited amount of money. I've got my $2 million house in Hawthorne. He's got nothing. I can understand it. No, it's not going to happen. And so can you see? You just multiply that by every issue you can think of. Now, how do they translate? They translate into communicational conflict. I've only got to say an unkind word over the smouldering ruins of the back fence, and my neighbour who's getting 50 grand but it's nothing, is deeply wounded and never talks to me again. Can you understand that?